Okay, folks, so first step, reviewing C and G chord. I think I'm gonna do it a little bit in both spots. So I'm gonna play both chords here, then I'm gonna move to the center. This is a C chord, 3 notes, play together, although down the road we will play them other ways. This is a G chord. Now I'm gonna jump up here. I want you to get like slightly different angles. This is the C chord and the G chord. I'm going to show you just the notes. I'm pulling my hands back so you can see. You would not play piano this way. This is like completely not right. But you can see the notes better. To go from a C to a G, the bottom 2 go down 1. So the trick for you in learning this, it's probably something you've never done something like this with your hand before. Don't press too hard, your hand may cramp. If it's really hard to press all 3 down at once, leave the middle one out. Try to do the outer 2. You can break it down, you could do the top 2. But for now that might seem confusing. So just start working on it. If you're stuck, let me know. I might want you to make me a little video to show me how it's going so I know how to help you. Go slow. If it's hard, don't go fast. Take your time. It may help you to play the notes one at a time. And I mentioned last class, I sent you a PowerPoint. And I have somewhere in the middle, I don't know which one, I sent a couple. I think it's in the week 2 section, and it's one of the 2. Somewhere in the middle, it talks about the 3 chords, and if you click, you'll see a video of me explaining this and going over it. To go to the F chord, this is our C. The top 2 are gonna go over. Go over, go up. If I play it down here, so if you're having a hard time with chords, leave out the middle note. Get your hand just used to playing these patterns. Do some. Whenever something's hard completely, do part. We want to make it easier so you can do part. Little by little, you'll be able to fill things in. So for you to start with 2 hands, if you're kind of having a hard time with chords, stick to Mary, because that only uses 2 chords, and the first line of Song of Joy. The second line uses that 3rd chord. So it's perfectly okay to start working with a limited set of things you're doing. You don't have to do everything at once. But the thing you do want to do is you want to get started and do something. And little by little, it gets easier. So we're going to Mary. Assumption, you can already play right hand and you can play 2 chords in the left hand. Even if it's a little slow, that's okay. You're going to play, you're going to set each hand up, you're going to think of your hands one at a time to make sure they're prepared to do the right thing. So this is for Mary, left hand, right hand. My left hand's ready to play C chord, my right hand is in position, and I know I'm going to start with that E. I try to start together. That's correct. You don't want this. Could you hear that was staggered? That wasn't together. Get them ready and press together. For some people, that's going to be natural. If that's hard, do that a few times. It'll get easier. Then do a little bit more. How much more you do, there's really lots of possibilities. If it's easy, keep on going. If it's really hard, just do a little bit. Let's say it's super hard. Just do one group, one measure. If that's okay, then add a little more. can slow down to think. But here's how you're going to learn and get this into your muscle memory. That's how it's going to become easier, by repeating small sections close together in time. So if you did 2 measures, do it until you notice that it's feeling easier, that it's going more smoothly. If you do it 7, 8, 9 times and it doesn't feel a lot easier, maybe just go on to something else. Come back to it later. Some things take practice over a couple days to get easier. Now, I'm going to start and I'm going to do the whole song slowly. I may talk, in the middle, we'll see. You may pause while you're learning to change the chords. You can pause. Next line starts with the same chord. Change chords. So I tried to do that, making it seem like a little bit timid. So when you start, do a doable amount, repeat it, add some more, repeat that. At some point, if it doesn't seem to get better, move on to something else. Now, what does that mean, move to something else? Let's say you're working on 2 measures. The something else might mean jumping to measures 3 and 4. What if you're working on 1 line? The something else might mean the next line, or maybe it means the next song. It kind of depends on your time, what you're trying to accomplish in that practice session. Ideally, if you have the time, if you could practice 6 or 7 days, 15, 20 minutes, that'd be great. Some people tell me they practice half an hour a day, 5 days a week. Some people 20 minutes a day. Some people say an hour a day. It should not take an hour a day. Although some people will have maybe trouble with a certain thing. Let me mention that as we go on through the term, it does get more difficult. And ideally, you'll keep up. If you keep up, things should be doable for you. They might not fall into place immediately, but they should be doable. If you keep up, the new stuff that's harder will become doable. If you wait until the middle of the term and then start working, what's going to happen is we're going to be getting into some harder stuff and it's going to be harder for you. So don't do that. And if you do get behind for any reason, let me know and I'll work with you to catch up. Now, what we're going to do is, Song of Joy is probably where most of you will be spending time. I'm going to do that, breaking it down a little bit more. Let me start with the first line. Let's say this is my first time trying to do it. And I just start and I'm going to do 2 hands. Let me get my left hand ready. Let me get my right hand ready. And my goal, I'm ambitious, so I want to try to do the whole line. But let's say it's kind of hard and I stall a little bit. I'm just trying to imitate what may happen. That's kind of something that could be possible. You're trying to get through it, but you hesitate, you make a mistake or two, maybe you have trouble with the chord. Don't keep doing that. That's my advice to you. You will get more return for your time if you try to go back and find a doable amount. What I mean by a doable amount is an amount that doesn't have too many challenges. If the line's new to you and hands together is new to you, there's lots of challenges. Whereas if we take 2 measures, there are less challenges, which means you can keep your focus right there for less time and really heighten your focus rather than lose focus because you're making mistakes. So we do 2 measures. We get left hand ready. We get right hand ready. The right hand repeats while the left hand chord changes. You might want to start right there. Just go to the change and stop. Here's the change. That's the challenge. That will get easy for you. You will discover that some parts are a lot more challenging than others. And what's going to happen is you're going to discover when the chords change. That's one of the ones that's going to be harder. When you work more on the hard spots, the whole piece falls together better. So let's say you're doing those 2 measures a couple times, it gets easier. You could jump to measures 3 and 4. Or you could say, well, let me just add measure 3. Let's try it a slightly different way. Let's do 2 measures, and I will just go till the next chord changes. That kind of overlaps the sessions. Or sections is what I meant to say. Right here, we want to overlap because that's new. So you would do that 2 or 3 times. Once that's easy, you can do more. So then you could continue with 3, repeating them, or you could just push ahead and try for the 4, or you can start in measure 3. So in other words, there's lots of variations. And I would suggest that as you're working this out, you try more than one approach. Here is starting with measure 3. Pausing if it's new, and then repeating that. The reason you repeat it, there's a couple reasons. Number one, your concentration as you repeat it, it's probably going to get better. Your ears, your mind is going to remember the sound. Your hands are going to start remembering the notes. And with everything, the way we learn, like the way your body just absorbs things, the more you do it in a focused way, it gets easier. And then you work on the next section. Now, I'm going to go over the next line. This has the F chord in the left hand. I suggest you don't start this with 2 hands until you've worked on that F chord. Initially, you want to get some practice playing 2 hands. You can get that with Mary. It's not the most exciting one, but you can focus on line 1 of Song of Joy. Then you need to work on that F chord. So here is line 2 all the way through. F chord. That last measure is going to be a lot more challenging because there's 2 chords. The chords move more quickly. Plus we've got that fast little rhythm. Later on in the term, we'll talk about what that fast rhythm is. You can simplify it. And you can just wait for that part for now. You can get started in the beginning. Let's start with 2 measures. Line 2. You would do that and you'd repeat. If you hesitate, you want to mentally check that you're doing it right. If something sounds wrong, take a look, see if you can figure out what it is. You'd repeat that, then you'd work into 3. When you do get to this line and you get to the end, I'm not going to focus a lot on it now, but that is a challenge. I'm going to start in measure 3, and I'm going to go slower and show you how you might approach this. This is line 2, measure 3, or group 3. Going slow, carefully, slowly. And that doesn't sound right. The music's not quite right. It's very slow, but you're probably going to want to start it that way. Okay, I can see we're in our last 10 minutes. I'm going to go to Saints, and I'm going to focus on half of the song, getting it with 2 hands. So I'm going to, I did this before, but I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do a tiny section. You hold that G. So if you based on how much you're able to accomplish, if you do nothing more than that much, that will move you forward. After you do it a couple times, you'll be able to do it twice in a row. hands are just going to get used to moving. The next line starts the same, but the left hand chord's going to change. This is kind of stretched out, and that's going to be a G chord. So in this song, you only will play a chord where I put a dash on the sheet. Let me play that second phrase again. I'm not playing chords here. I have chords on the sheet because in the song itself, if somebody played something there, it would have to be the chord that's written in. But we don't really yet know enough to do that because that makes it fancier. What's going to happen, I will sort of play the two lines for you the way the book has it. This is the same. Did you hear extra chords in the left hand bouncing along? Maybe yes, maybe no. In the book, we're going to do that. When we get to it in the book, maybe in another, I don't know, 3 weeks or so, it'll be easier for having started with this. So that's where I'm stopping.